Hello, you're watching rptv, and my name is Kedar Ahmed. And on today's show, we will bring you the 50-year celebration of the Neighbourhood Legal Services, a nonprofit and independent community legal clinic that has been serving the community since 1973. They provide free legal services and assistance to low-income individuals who live within Toronto's downtown east side. They have been celebrated the critical impact that the Neighbourhood Legal Services has had for over the last 50 years for areas like Regent Park, Moss Park, Cabbagetown, and St. Jamestown, where low-income people struggle to have access to justice and equality before the law. Now let's go and see how the party went. Hello, my name is Kedar Ahmed. I'm here at 585 Dundas Street East, and we're here to celebrate Neighbourhood Legal Services 50-year anniversary. And as you can see, there's a lot of people here enjoying the festivities. There's a cake for celebration, there's food, there's a live DJ, there are drinks. Come out and enjoy this amazing event. And right here I have with me
Jenny Stone.
And Ms. Jenny Stone. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the event and what brought you out here today?
Sure thing. So I'm the Executive Director of Neighbourhood Legal Services, and we're celebrating 50 years of this clinic, which is pretty awesome. NLS is the Community Legal Aid Clinic for the downtown east side. So our catchment area is Bloor to the lake and Yonge to the Don River. So, Regent Park, Moss Park, St. Jamestown. If you are low income and you live in those neighborhoods, and you're facing housing, income, immigration, or employment law issues, we provide free legal services. So, we're governed by a community board of directors. We get our funding from legal aid, from the province through Legal Aid Ontario, but we're independent of the province. So we're a publicly funded resource for the community to fight for people's rights. It's pretty awesome. So we're having this party today.
I agree, Gina. I think what you guys do is amazingly awesome. I just want to ask you, why do you think services like this are important for our community, especially like community in Regent Park and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, I've got so many thoughts about that. Just, being able to name and blame and claim rights, it's kind of a jargony phrase, but it has real truth to it. Like knowing that, you have legal rights, that you might have a remedy and against, a party, and then being able to actually realize that remedy is so important for all of us to feel like we have a stake in our communities, right? To feel like our voice matters and, that we're entitled to rights. And I think that community legal clinics like ours are just such a hugely treasured resource that not enough people know about. But we long may they continue. Looking forward to the next 50 years.
Well, after today, I promise you, a lot more people are going to know about it. And I just wanted to ask you, Jeannie, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know? Anything else that I didn't get the chance to ask you about?
This is I guess really this is the community's resource. So it's a limited resource. You probably know that the province cut legal aid by 30% in 2019. So we're still feeling that for sure. But I guess I'd want the community to know this is a resource that a lot of people fought long and hard to get and then to maintain. And it's their resource, it's the community's resource. So, get involved, become a member, run for our board. We work for the community and we're accountable to the community.
Thank you so much for your time, Jeannie. We really appreciate you being here and being a part of the event. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
And with me right now, I have
Jack the clerk. I'm laughing because over there was just a photograph of me about 45 years ago.
Well, Mr. Jack, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. What brings you to this event today?
So I'm the previous executive director of the clinic. I worked at the clinic for 21 years, and I'm here to participate and celebrate.
And when you say participate and celebrate, leading up to this wonderful event that's happening right now, what did you guys do in the daytime to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Legal Neighborhood Services?
So there were a number of stations that were set up to engage people, dealing with housing issues, dealing with income issues, dealing with community issues, and dealing with immigration and refugee issues. And people went around and answered questions and played some games and had a lot of fun. I wasn't involved in that myself, so I can't say too much about that. But I know that there were about 5 or 6 teams of people who were actually participating, and I guess there's going to be some prizes later in the evening.
Fair enough, Jack. I want to ask you as well, why do you think services like this is important for a community like the Regent Park or even the surrounding areas?
So the downtown east side, which is the catchment area for the clinic, has historically had a lot of low-income people, and access to legal services is really critical for those people, partly because there's so much in their life where they run into government. The government, whether it's government housing or whether it's income supports or whether it's immigration issues, it's the government that's on the other side if you have a problem. And the government obviously has lots of money, and low-income people don't. So providing legal services to them is such a critical service to the community.
I agree, Jack. Aside from that, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know, anything that I didn't ask you, anything that you feel is of importance that needs to be out there?
Well, ever since the clinic has been funded, which is now 50 years ago, the staff have worked really hard. And to their credit, there's lots of things that they've accomplished. But legal aid has always been under pressure from the government to, hold back on funds, to reduce, there's always pressure to reduce the clinic's funding. And it's really important that people communicate with their members of parliament, with the members of the Ontario legislature, and write to the premier or to the prime minister and say, legal aid needs to be better funded because there's so much work to do, and there's not enough people doing the work. So that's an important message to get across.
Thank you so much for your time, Jack, and thank you so much for the insight. Okay, thank you so much for being here, and enjoy the rest of this wonderful event.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for doing this.
Pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Many of our board members here tonight, and they're all amazing, including Kumsa, whose idea it was for the amazing race. Thank you. It was a total success. Waleed, who put the word out far and wide, and I'm sure it's why many of you are here. Thank you, thank you. Haley, who staffed the welcome table and timed the teams as they headed out and wrestled a tent into being. And I don't want to forget anybody, but let's move to Josh and Miriam, there you are. Miriam, who also helped wrestle a tent into being and staffed the immigration table. So thank you. So Josh comes from lots of leadership positions in the public service. He manages big projects dealing with infrastructure, and he's a communications guru. So he's a proud member of the LGBTQ community. He is a longtime resident of the church in Wellesley Village, and we're super pleased to have Josh's wisdoms on our board. So let me pass it over to him.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know many of you had fun at today's event. We got to see many of you at Glad Day Bookshop, and I know that through your efforts today, we raised some great funds and just got I think we met almost as many people that didn't know about what was going on at our station. So that's great, because that means, more people know about us and more people know where to find us. I'd like to start off tonight with a few words of welcome and thanks. I want to thank the staff that are here tonight. When I know when it says other duties as assigned on your job description, you did not imagine this night, but your efforts and your can-do attitude is how we got here, and I'm so grateful. The folks from Legal Aid Ontario, who are our funder and our partner, are here, so we'll be introducing them later, and really glad that you could be here to join us tonight. Linda Jackson is here. Where's Linda? I saw her around the corner. Oh, there. Hi, Linda. Linda Jackson is the ED of St. Mike's Family Health Team, and we're going to be telling you a little bit more about our partnership with them in the near future tonight. We also have a number of our alumni. We're like a really tight group, and there are folks here who have been part of the NLS community for a very long time, and we're so glad that you come back and join us for events like this. Thank you to our board members. Jenny mentioned them. You'll be hearing from some of them later on tonight, but please give us a wave. Board members are here. They're an illustrious group, but we're always looking for new board members. So if you're interested, please come and see one of us. We'd be happy to have you join us. I'm going to say thank you to our staff again, because other than putting on fun races like this, they are really the heart and soul of the organization, and really just so grateful for all the work that you do every day. Please give them a hand. So during the before times, which is what I like to call the pandemic, because we're going to stop talking about it and just move on, we really ached for a time when we could do things like this, right? We missed it. And as the board started to talk about what would be the right way to kind of mark 50 years, it was like, dinner, something big and unique. And as Jenny said, Kumsa came with this idea, and we're just so grateful for that, and so glad that we got to celebrate, and grateful for the amazing weather, and that we can be together here in Regent Park and the Downtown East community. It was just a reminder for me of how badly we need these kinds of events to celebrate and be together for fellowship and community. So can you raise your hand if you learned something about NLS today that you didn't already know? Or maybe something about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights or the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that you didn't already know. I sure did. And that's pretty awesome. I heard news stories about how legal staff, advocates, and donors behind NLS were there when gaps in that social safety net showed just how unjust it is when times get tough for people who live on the fringes of our community. But NLS was there, and NLS is still there. And 50 years from now, NLS will be there, because that's what it's about. And all the people here tonight are a testament to that legacy, but you're also part of the promise to the future. And so we're grateful for that as well. NLS began and really continues, I'm glad to say, with the simple idea that lower income people have an undisputed right to good, competent legal services to be used in the exercise of their rights under the law. Thank you for being here tonight. Each of you continues to have an important role to play in the work of NLS, and here's to the next 50 years.
Thank you so much, Josh. So our next speaker, we're very, very pleased that you came, Rod and David and Mary Rose from Legal Aid Ontario. It really means a lot, and your support of clinics and the work that we do is tremendous. Rod is the Vice President of Clinic Law Services. So you might know that Legal Aid Ontario is a big operation, and they have the clinic arm, community clinics like ours. There's also funding for free legal services through duty counsel at courthouses, through legal aid certificates to private lawyers. So we occupy that really special place of clinic law services, and this is Rod Strain's domain. So welcome, Rod, and here's the mic.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for us to be here to celebrate 50 years. A lot has changed in this community in 50 years, and I think that stresses the importance of the community legal clinics embedded in the community, understanding the needs of the community and fulfilling those needs. So I want to thank current board, past board members who are here, all the staff for the hard work that you do and will continue to do for the next 50 years. I see a lot of former staff here, and I think it's great that the community is out here celebrating this with you. We very much value our partnership with Neighbourhood Legal Services. I look forward to another 50 years of that partnership. So we've got a very small token that I'd like to present to you, just commemorating 50 years of service within the community. So,
Thank you so much. May I ask everyone on staff to come up to receive this certificate? This is a big deal, and this is a photo op, and y'all put so much time into this really amazing event, and you give her every day. So please come. May I ask you to hold it for a second? That's my husband. Come. Actually, yeah, maybe in front of the photo wall, and can we invite the alumni as well? Anyone who's ever worked at NLS, any student who is currently working at NLS, come. We're all part of making stuff happen, right?
There's more space outside. Big smile.
And can we have any board members who are here also come for an expanded photo?
Who's gonna take a photo?
We're all
Help me out, bro. Come in. Where's Kusa? Kusa, we need you. Yeah.
straight to the source.
I'm trying to be a short person. Wait, one more.
Kusa's here. One more. 1 second. He's saving the photo. No one move. I can see him. Nawar, come on, buddy. Nawar's here. You ready? Okay. 3.
You should be way in front of me.
3, 2, 1. You got it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What's that? Is that full set? Can I get a high five?
And thank you so much. That means a lot. We also have our city councillor here, Chris Moyse, who, as a lovely surprise to us, also wishes to give us a little something. Here's Chris Moyse.
Thank you, Jenny. Congratulations to Neighbourhood Legal Services, your 50th anniversary. That's incredible. Woo! You know, I had the honor of meeting the exec director and her team a few months ago, and just to learn about what NLS does in our communities every day. And I was actually quite surprised, the extent of the work that they do to support the most marginalized in our community. And so, my hat's off to you for what you do, a lot of heavy lifting. I am blessed to be local city councilor because I see firsthand, all the social agencies in Toronto Centre supporting all of us each and every day. City staff, and even our nonprofit partners like Dixon Hall, Five House, Covenant House. Everyone is just working so hard, serving our community. And I just feel so fortunate to be among heroes, I'm going to say, every day. And I know since we're talking, legal services, I like to just, say my niece is a lawyer. And I helped put her through law school, so she owes me big time. and I have actually spoken to her about, NLS, and she herself wasn't aware of some of the things that you do. And I hope over time, she's in criminal law, so I hope over time, she'll bring her services to you and support our community here as well, because she does live in the ward as well. So I'm very excited about that. But again, congratulations. I did bring a scroll. That's what we do at City Hall. It's just to acknowledge, the service that you provide to us here in Toronto Centre and to our community, and again, to your board and your staff and the volunteers and everybody, who makes this thing go each and every day. So again, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Okay, so I guess in the interest of time, we won't have everyone come up to hold this, but this is going straight into our waiting room, and it will be looked upon with pride every day. Thank you so much. I'll hand this to my trusty assistant, Jack the clerk. And next, I'm introducing another very special guest, Dr. Rami Shukri, who is one of the loveliest people I've ever worked with. He's so understated and kind. Some of you may know him because he's a physician at the Regent Park Community Health Center. Excuse me. No, he's a physician at St. Michael's Academic Family Health Team right across the street here at the Sumac Creek site. And he's also a trained lawyer, and it was his original work as a medical resident at St. Mike's that looked into social factors that patients were facing that led to the funding a pilot of what's now the Health Justice Program. So Rami really is a brainchild behind it, lawyer by training and a doctor, so quite a lazy guy, obviously. And so he's going to give a few words about the Health Justice Program and the very special partnership that we have with them.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for the kind introduction. I feel the same about you. Very great to work with you. So I will correct a couple of things, but the big picture is pretty accurate. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here, to congratulate NLS, yourself, everyone involved in NLS, the history, 50 years, amazing accomplishment. And yes, I am a family doctor. I did go to law school, but I'm not a lawyer. I never got called to the bar, so I live vicariously through the work that you, Jenny, and your team do, and it's really inspirational to see all the work that NLS does for the community. So just very briefly about the partnership. So yes, I work at Sumac Creek, which is one of 5 clinics of the St. Mike's Family Health Team. And the Health Justice Program is a partnership between NLS, us as the Family Health Team, and 3 other legal aid funded clinics. And we started in 2014 with pilot funding, as Jenny stated. So thank you to Legal Aid Ontario for your foresight and your ongoing funding. Our mandate is threefold. So we do direct services. So For our patients of our family health team, we refer for what we call health-harming legal needs. I think we can all imagine what these are. We also do education, and we also do advocacy to look at community-level issues and solutions. So it's really a pleasure and a privilege to be up here. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak, and congratulations to everyone. I will not take any more time, but I just want to say how much we appreciate the partnership at the Family Health Team. Over and over again, the team speaks so highly of this partnership and our patients. You guys take such good care of our patients, and this partnership, I think, is part of the future of healthcare and service delivery. So it's just really a privilege to be part of this partnership, and congratulations. I also have a plaque of sorts to commemorate this, and so it's got our logo. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Photo op.
Thank you so much, Rami. It says, congratulations, Neighbourhood Legal Services, 50 years serving the neighbourhood. From your partners in the pursuit of justice since 2014, the St. Michael's Hospital Department of Family and Community Medicine. So it's the Health Justice Program. Yeah, thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. Okay, the next speaker he's really the NLS OG, as I've said to a few people tonight. And it's those of you who know NLS already know who I'm talking about. It's Jack de Klerk. I emceed Jack's retirement party not too long ago, and I recall describing him at that time as just a real mensch, a kind, good, patient leader who was the executive director of Neighbourhood Legal Services for many, many years. 1998 is when he came on as a staff lawyer. And retired in 2019, so I'll let you do the math. Jack's a legend in the legal clinic world. He's a bar none brilliant housing lawyer, and is able to bring an analysis to legal issues that is always well worth a listen. His legal practice focused on tenant issues and housing policy. And in 1989, working with representatives of the Federation of Metro Tenants and the Cooperative Housing Association of Ontario, he led the formation of the Tenants Nonprofit Redevelopment Corporation. And I think what that basically means is that Jack was fundamental in founding the first co-ops in Toronto. So a real deep knowledge here, and I'm going to pass the mic to you, Jack. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. It's a good thing that we're talking about the past and I don't have to live up to all of that anymore. It's really nice to be here tonight, and it's great to be part of a celebration that I think it's fair to say, is the work of, it's like the phrase, it takes a village to make a child, to raise a child. It takes a village to carry out the kind of work that the clinic has done over these years. I should just correct Jenny on one little thing. It wasn't the first co-op in Toronto that I involved with. In 1989, we were able to work with folks from the Ministry of Housing at Queen's Park to develop a program that allowed tenants to purchase their apartment buildings and convert them into nonprofit housing cooperatives. So that hadn't been done formally in the past. And for those of you who were on the race today, when you were out at the housing section, it was just at the corner where the Earnscliffe Housing Co-op is. And Earnscliffe was one of the buildings that we purchased and converted into a co-op. Another one that was purchased in this area, in the NLS catchment area, was the City Park Co-op at Alexander and Wood Street and Church. So there's a big history of co-ops in the area, and I'll say something about that in a minute. I just wanted to reflect for a moment on all the changes that have happened in the 50 years, because when NLS started 50 years ago, it was just part of a ragtag group of clinics. There were only 7 or 8 at the time, and there really wasn't a plan to, provide legal services to everyone in the province. That happened over time, and today, so from that little group of clinics 50 years ago, today we've got over 70 clinics throughout the province, and everyone in the province now has access to legal aid, a legal aid clinic, as well as there's about 7 or 8 or 10, I can't remember how many exactly, specialty clinics that operate around interest, like legal aid or legal subject interests, and others around particular demographic groups. So that's a huge change that's happened over those 50 years. And the other big change that's happened, when clinics started back in those early 70s, we didn't really have very much funding. There was a lot of volunteers that did all the work. We scavenged around for furniture. We had telephones that maybe had 5 or 6 buttons on them that you could have different lines. And nobody had cell phones, nobody had fax machines, nobody had computers. And when we wanted to leaflet a place, we had a mimeograph machine that made a few copies, and if there was a mistake, you covered it up with nail polish remover or something. Anyway, that's nobody could imagine at the time what we have today, which is legal clinic staff often working remotely. All these files and all the communications are done through the internet, and everyone works from cell phones, and landlines are still there, but they're not anything like what they used to be. So big changes, and that takes a lot of learning over the years, and it's a remarkable what people have been able to accomplish through all of those changes. One of the things that hasn't changed, I think that's pretty critical, is when the clinic started 50 years ago, the board looked around and talked to people in the community and said, one of the biggest needs in this community is income maintenance. There are a lot of people who are struggling, some with low-paying jobs, other people dealing with welfare and disability issues, and the clinic decided very early on that it was one of the things that it was going to focus on was income maintenance. It's still a big part of the clinic's work today. The other issue that was really big was housing, and surprisingly, Regent Park at the time was about 20 years old, and there were lots of issues with dealing with Regent Park and in the surrounding area as well, all the rooming houses. And so that was the other issue that the clinic decided to focus on. And today housing remains one of the, or probably the largest piece of work that the legal clinic. The third area that didn't start out right away, but was very quickly part of the clinic's work, dealing with immigration and refugees. And again, that's one of the areas of work that the clinic really works on today still. So in spite of all the changes that have happened, those 3 things remain the focus of the clinic. And properly, we refer to it as poverty law work, because what we're dealing with is people who are probably definitely within the bottom 10% of the income population. And that's, I was just saying to the folks at Regent Park TV earlier, When you're at the bottom of the income ladder, you're more likely to run into government when you're facing legal issues, whether it's the housing that you live in is publicly owned, or if it's income maintenance that you're dealing with, if you're dealing with the refugee board or immigration, that's another government. And so you're constantly faced with an opposition when you're interacting with government that has money. And so poor people obviously can't afford lawyers, so having legal aid is really the only way to balance the conflict that people are running into. And so it's so critical that we keep funding legal aid clinics in the province and obviously in this area. A couple of other things I just wanted to mention. One of the things that the board has consistently supported is for the staff to be involved in not only representation of individuals in courts or before tribunals, but in promoting public legal education in the community, making sure that the people in the community know what their legal rights are and can be educated in terms of how to go about enforcing those rights. So that's been a critical piece that the board has always said, this is what we need to do. Another thing that they really encourage staff to do is to work with other people, not only those in legal clinics, but that was certainly a big part of it, to say, you know, when we're dealing with housing issues, for example, there are other folks in other legal clinics who are also dealing with housing issues. And so having a study group, in a sense, a support group, a working group of all the housing paralegals and lawyers in the whole system, getting together to discuss policy issues and to figure out different kinds of, to figure out what solutions are to the kinds of problems that they're dealing with. So that was the board has always really supported staff in participating. Those meetings are not, you know, you can't sort of say, well, we solved another case today, but it's part of really getting a solid background for all the staff and the support that they have then, or that they get from their colleagues. The board also has consistently understood that it's important to do systemic work. So if you're dealing again with housing or with income maintenance, it's not just dealing with the individual client who's got the problem, but encouraging the staff to work with their colleagues to try to pressure the government to make the changes that need to be brought about. The third thing I want to just mention, and it's the last thing I'll mention, is the community groups that have been part of the clinic's operations for all these years. There's a phrase that I think Rami gets a lot of credit for, social determinants of health. And I'd like to just turn that around a little bit and say that there are also many social determinants that affect legal issues and legal outcomes. So if people don't have housing, then their health outcomes are probably going to be compromised. Similarly, if they don't have their legal issues addressed, then they're going to have other issues with, they'll likely have health issues as well. So it was obvious that it was really important for the legal clinic to participate with other organizations in the community to try to make sure that the clients that we faced were getting the support that they needed, whether it was housing support or income support or just being able to access counseling services or drug treatment programs or access to a criminal lawyer. Or, you know, having different community partners enables all of that intersectional work to be done. And that's another thing that the board has constantly encouraged clinic staff to become engaged in. So all of that put together is part of the history of the clinic, and I think has led to the success of the clinic over the 50 years, and it, I think, provides an excellent foundation for the work of the clinic in the next 50 years, and go to it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jack. So, real archival knowledge of the early days, and it's always wonderful to hear the backstories. There is a bit of a history of NLS on our website, which Jack reminded me today does need to be updated, but some of that early, the early historian, I think, was you that wrote that, so thank you for leaving that with us. So our next speaker is somebody who we invited because we just think she's really killing it in the community. She is fierce and very bright and speaks truth to power. Her name is Lorraine Lam, and Lorraine's a Chinese. This is Lorraine's bio, but check her out on online if you don't already. Lots of really interesting writings and kind of searing insights into policies that negatively impact people living in poverty. Lorraine's a Chinese-Canadian settler immigrant, an outreach worker, and a case manager in the downtown East. She's been working with people who are unhoused and precariously housed in this community for over 10 years. She loves naps, carbs, and her extroverted puppy, Miso. Over to you, Lorraine.
Yeah, if you live in this neighborhood, you probably would have seen my dog, because I think he thinks he's like the town counselor, and he like goes around to say hi to everybody. I will name that my friend Diana Chan McNally was supposed to be here with me as well, but she's quite sick, so I'll try to channel some of her energy through me. So thank you for inviting me here tonight. So I'm here today speaking with like my quote worker hat on, but I also live down the street. So I'm really here speaking as a human who lives in the downtown East. And I just wanted to tell you about a guy named George. George is an older racialized gentleman who lives in the community. He's on disability in a wheelchair, and he gets OAS, old age security, for his monthly income. And for reasons that we can't seem to figure out, he doesn't have a full housing subsidy. And his rent is nearly $1,000 a month, so that basically gives him $100 a month to live on. You can't even actually buy a monthly Presto with $100 a month. There's a number of complications in his life, including some pretty significant health challenges, and now he's in a situation where he's facing eviction from his place. And I'm almost certain that if he gets evicted, I think he will die on the streets this winter. And I was recently looking up legal fees because I was just curious about how much lawyers make. And according to the Law Society of Ontario, the hourly rate for a counsel that has been called to the bar less than a year is $165 an hour. So besides thinking like, oh damn, I like got in the wrong profession, I just thought, man, there's no way George can afford a lawyer. In fact, so many people that I work with, so many of my friends can't actually afford a lawyer. And I mean, people who live on Ontario Works to get $343 a month can't afford a lawyer, but they also can barely afford to live. And so as the city continues to gentrify, more and more people will become unhoused. And as the city gentrifies, people will suffocate and crumble under the systems. The construction of all of the new luxury condos in this area and the rising costs of food and living is actually the destruction of the social fabric and cohesion of the downtown East. You know, just down the street here, the land at 230 Sherbourne could have been expropriated by the city for geared-to-income housing. But instead, there's going to be a new luxury property that's going to develop there. That's basically putting a gigantic bomb in the middle of the neighborhood that's already struggling. And how has the city responded? So far, it's been silent and disappointing. And so people that I work with are trying to find ways to get food and shelter. We know that there are more people in tents. And instead of seeing more actual help, we're seeing increasing policing, we're seeing neighbors target the poor, we're seeing community, quote, consultation meetings that don't involve the poor, and instead of asking larger and better questions and asking why people are in these situations in the first place, the city moves to criminalize, incarcerate, and displace. And instead of looking inward at our own complicity in participating in these systems, we live in a reality where the most vulnerable people are villainized. And so this month, while we do land acknowledgements and put up orange flags and maybe even wear an orange t-shirt on September 30th, we know that our Indigenous friends are mostly displaced. We might even go to a march on September 30th, and then we villainize encampments when we know that Indigenous people are overrepresented in jails and in tents. What is our city doing? Our systems are literally choking the life out of people, and I know that I personally have so much fear and anxiety, and honestly a lot of anger at how people are continuing to get pushed off the ledge. You see, no one, quote, falls through the cracks. Our systems instead have created these gaping chasms that are impossible for people to survive. And in the climate that we're in, there will be more people who will need legal resources, especially as the housing security worsens, and especially as migration patterns across the world continues to escalate, and people will need to find new homes and stability. A recent study out of Calgary showed that there is an exponentially increasing use of food banks, and I think we see that around our own city. And so here's the thing. We're talking about the increasing use of food banks, but this is actually a precursor of the worst of the housing crisis that's gonna land on us. It's already bad now, but what the increasing rise of food bank use means is that people are starving themselves so that they can pay rent. This is absolutely egregious. And so we're seeing people end up in tents because of rent. We're seeing people in hospitals in distress. We're seeing people in very, very concerning mental health crises. I mean, you have to work a $40 an hour job to make rent in the city. So our systems are broken. So while we celebrate social service agencies for supporting people who are vulnerable, these agencies should not exist because we should live in a just and equitable system. And if I'm really honest, all of this feels really heavy. Way to party poop on a birthday celebration, right? And if I'm honest, I think a lot of it feels really defeating. And it's hard to not be discouraged. And so what do we do to keep going? That said, I don't think we have a choice to give up. And I think I appreciated hearing about the history of NLS because we've seen how groups continue to press on in the face of hardship. I know for me, one of the things that keeps me going in the work is knowing that there is a myriad of community organizations and grassroots groups that relentlessly press forward. And I won't say that they tirelessly press forward because I know that actually everyone is exhausted and burnt out. Groups like NLS is one of these organizations that I deeply appreciate. The amount of work that they pour into people's lives is transformative. And not just like work, like how they check emails on like a Sunday night at 10 p.m. Don't tell Victoria's boss. Or maybe tell her boss if she gets a promotion. But it's like their work in terms of their compassion and their care. I have witnessed firsthand over the last number of years the ways that different staff have engaged the community with empathy and compassion. Not sympathy, not like, oh, I feel so sorry for you, but actual compassion, where the Latin roots of that word is about being alongside with passion. And I've seen people on this team come together to navigate some of the most impossible scenarios. And no successful community work and no healing community work happens in isolation. And for that, I'm grateful for the way that NLS has built bridges in the community, as we've seen. They've got partnerships across this neighborhood. And I think they're a huge piece of the glue in the social cohesion in this neighborhood. Without NLS, I'm not sure where many of the folks would be. Without NLS, I don't know if my friend George will live to see another winter. And I'm certain he wouldn't be enjoying his weekend in London right now with his grandkids. So, all that said, cheers to NLS, the staff, the community, the past, and the present. Congratulations on the last 50 years. And please stick around for another 50, because we know we need it. In addition, I'd like to say that there is a community consultation happening next Wednesday, the 20th. I'd love to encourage folks to come out to that to really speak to what they think some of the neighborhood concerns are, to speak against some of the vitriol that we're hearing against people who are poor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Now I want to do a drum roll because now is the moment that those who participated in today's amazing race are going to find out who's going to go home with the biggest and best prizes. Haley, do we have our winners? I'm going to invite Waleed Kogali to come and give the prizes. If you bear with me a moment, I'll introduce you properly, Waleed. Waleed probably needs no introduction in this room. Waleed has lived in Regent Park with his family since 2005, and he's known for working with residents from all backgrounds to create a safe, inclusive, and sustainable community. As a Canadian Muslim who immigrated from Sudan, he has experienced firsthand what it's like to be a newcomer youth growing up in Toronto. He has worked to champion issues such as affordable housing, transit, environmental stewardship, equity, and human rights across the city. And congratulations, Waleed. Just this summer, he was appointed to the City of Toronto's Confronting Anti-Black Racism Advisory Committee. So Waleed is going to be with Haley McPhail from our board, a family mediator and educator, going to be giving out the prizes.
Okay, my friends, we had amazing speeches. Didn't we have amazing speeches? Right? Lorraine, you're amazing. Can I just say that? That speech got to me, right? Because you're right, we need to really re-examine the system that's been built, right? Because it's built in a certain way and it impacts people very harmfully. And housing is a basic human right. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for being here. I love the energy in this room. I love the energy in this space. And today we're going to make sure you walk away with a bigger smile than you walked in with, especially the raffle prize winners. So we're going to start with our number 6. Drum roll, number 6. You all ready? Number 6 is...
2 hours and 9 minutes. The NSL fan club, number 6.
Woo! Number 6. You folks ready?
And that was Brandon, Justin, and Amy.
Okay, so Brandon, Justin, Amy, thank you. Thank you so much. You're number 6. Okay, drum.
Brandon's baby, I think.
No, Brandon's baby was too cute. If you haven't said hi, please go say hi. Very, very beautiful family. Number 5. You all ready? Drum roll. Number 5. Come on. Who's number 5? It is the Moss Park
Coalition. 2 hours and 2 minutes.
2 hours and 2 minutes. Moss Park Coalition. Come on, folks. Stand up. Stand up. Show us some love. Come on. Come on, Moss Park. Yeah.
They had the biggest team with Jackson, Kumsa, Diane, Zarn. I'm so sorry about the name. Serena, David. I don't have my glasses, and Mutad.
Yeah, come on. 6 people. Yeah, big team. Big team. Thank you so much, Moss Park Coalition. You're number 5. So number 4. Number 4 goes to drum roll, drum roll. Number 4. We're gonna make this fun.
The Community Justice Center with 1 hour and 50 minutes.
1 hour and 50 minutes. The Community Justice Collection. So Aliyah, Seema, I know you're in the back somewhere. Aliyah, Seema, Leora, Noel, and Catherine? That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's a big team.
I'm interrupting just for a moment to say, can you hear me? If you are 6, fifth, or fourth, please head to that back table by the window. There is a mug, there is a t-shirt, there is candy, and there is a pen. So we've got some NLS swag for those teams. Please grab them, and thank you so much for coming out today.
Awesome. Okay. So now this is the prizes. You all ready? That was all, we were putting a good program, eh? We got you folks interested? The top three, right?
I hear Jerry did a great job.
Okay.
All right, thanks to Jerry.
Sure. All right. So for number three, drum rolls, and we're going to say the time, and then we're going to say the group. Okay? Number three, how much time?
1 hour and 45 minutes.
And it is the
5:19.
5:19. Congratulations. Thank you to the 5:19.
James, Sebastian, and I'm going to say that. Obi Onowuchi.
Awesome. So thank you so much for the 519. Number two. Are you folks here? No, they were there. I think they're in and out. Out? Okay. Sounds good. We're going to find them. Okay, so, folks, drum roll. This is the top two now. I'm excited. Who's going to win this? Who's going to win this amazing race?
So close. At 1 hour and 32 minutes, it's Tina Painter.
Tina Painter, number two. Tina, congratulations. Okay. And now, my friends, this is the person that we've been waiting for the entire night. Who is the winner of the 50th anniversary of Neighbourhood Legal Services amazing race with the time of 1 hour and 31 minutes?
Lincoln Alexander Legal Clinic.
Congratulations! And the team consists of?
Colin, Jessica, and Khalid.
Colin, Jessica, and Khalid. Thank you so much. You're the winners of our amazing race. Thank you so much. And I think we're going to take your photos. Oh, you did great. I think we're taking photos with the winners. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Jenny. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Very nice. So for those who may not know, the amazing race today had these 6 teams travel to 5 different stations across the downtown east. Each station represented a decade of activism and advocacy, and we were just so impressed that you all came out and did it. So thank you. I think everybody had a good time and learned a lot. Huge thanks to Jerry Thompson with basket in her hand, who is an amazing event planner and put all these beautiful baskets together. And Pauline, sorry. Yeah, this is an amazing power trip right here. So yeah, enjoy all your fun NLS swag and wear it around the neighborhood so that more people know that we are a free service available. So I have a few last words to say. Sorry, I know y'all have been sitting through a lot of speeches, but I'm just going to say that the very last thing we're going to do after I end our program is draw the winning raffle ticket. So we had two 100 level Jays versus Yankees tickets donated to us. So those are what is being raffled off, if you haven't heard. So you have the length of my talk, which is going to be less than 5 minutes, to find Heath there in the hat. Heath, maybe raise your hand so everyone knows it's you. Heath. Raise your hand. Yeah. Heath is the one you're going to buy the raffle ticket from. Okay, so if you haven't already bought a raffle ticket, Heath's your person. Find Heath and get those raffle tickets. If you have ever been a client of NLS, your raffle ticket is free. So just go find Heath and get your raffle ticket, okay? And maybe you're going to see the Jays 100 levels. Wouldn't that be awesome? And we should tell you that we're fundraising for an illegal lockout emergency relief fund. So for those who did the amazing race today, and thank you, this was Victoria Peters, our housing lawyer's idea. If your landlord locks you out and chucks your stuff to the curb, obviously it's totally illegal, and you will ultimately, if you can find a lawyer, you will get money back. They'll have to pay you money for having violated your rights so egregiously. But you probably won't get to the landlord and tenant board for about 7 weeks, is that right? So in that time, and we've helped a lot of people who have been in this situation, like what do you do? So we're fundraising so that we can have an emergency relief lockout fund to help cover the cost of hotel, or so that people aren't really stuck with no options. The idea being that once we get to the board, we know there will be damages awarded, and that fund will get replenished. So we're hoping that this can be, a little piece. Obviously, we need to work on changing that problem, that significant, profound, life-changing problem. But this is something that we're fundraising for in the short term. So, okay. Excuse me. Okay, thanks so much for your patience. Next is we're going to be drawing a raffle and having cake and coffee and wrapping up our night. So I want to finish the program by really acknowledging this sort of epiphany that I keep having over and over again at NLS. I've been at this clinic for 13 years, and the longer I work there, the more I realize that it is just such a treasured public resource that not enough people know about. So effectively, how it works is that we're funded by the provincial government. We're governed and accountable to a community board to fight for your rights, right? To protect and advance the legal rights of low-income people living in this catchment area. And we do that through direct, casework. We're also mandated under the law, like under the legislation that created the legal services regime, to kind of rabble-rouse, to do law reform and systemic advocacy. So effectively, we are your public resource. And I just think that's amazing. We are accountable to the board, which is voted in by a membership of community members. So I want to tell a story to highlight how this community has reformed an unfair law under this model. And this was like my life for several years. The law is a pernicious regulation under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. It's known as Regulation 117.9D, to get all technical. But more colloquially, it's known as the Excluded Family Member Rule. So basically what this rule means is that if when you come to Canada by any immigration stream, economic, family, class, refugee, if you do not name all of your family members and they do not get sort of medically or examined, criminally security examined, basically what this rule means is that they may never join you in Canada. Like they are forever excluded. So it's known as the Excluded Family Member Rule. So this neighborhood, as you know, is an arrival city for a lot of newcomers, and we offer immigration services at our clinic. So over the years, we heard so many stories of people who were caught by this rule. And the rule, what we learned once we kind of dug into it, was that the rule was put in place ostensibly to counter or to deter fraud, was what the bureaucrats thought they were doing with this rule. And just like, I'm not going to get into the weeds, but basically it has to do with like, when you get permanent residence in Canada, everybody in your family has to be admissible. So the idea behind putting this exclusion in place was like, we want to stop people from hiding the inadmissible family member to gain a benefit, right? But what we heard over and over again were so many stories about why refugee families were separated. War, violence, forced displacement, interdiction, meaning outside of Canada, visa policies that make it impossible to cross borders. And all of these that really uniquely impact women and anyone facing gender-based persecution. And so what we heard over and over again was like there was zero fraud at play here. And we made dozens of applications to ask for an exemption to this rule on a case-by-case basis. We gathered dozens of affidavits of local community members who were cruelly separated from their children. We teamed up with others, like from the Canadian Council for Refugees across the country, to lobby the federal government around this rule. We met with our MP here several times and traveled to Ottawa for a lobby day. We joined local walks on World Refugee Day several years in a row, which always included local residents' stories about how they were impacted by this rule. And we partnered finally with academics, and we analyzed all of the affidavit evidence that we had gathered. And affidavit evidence is basically a fancy term for someone's story. So we had gathered so many stories from people who live in this neighborhood, and we put them all sort of through an analysis, and we published a paper on the topic. And we heard from our networks that this paper had really gained a lot of traction among policymakers in Ottawa. And shortly after that paper circulated, Immigration Canada decided to pause this rule and pause the operation of the rule while they studied it further. So pretty cool. And like we're just the tool, right? These are your stories. This is something that's impacting folks who live in this community. And so this week we actually just found out that the government has decided to extend the pause for another 2 years. We think they should just repeal the terrible rule already, but we'll take that smaller win. And what really humbles me is like the downtown East parents who would not accept this, you know, who would never accept, no, I'm just going to be separated from my child forever, who stood up for what is right. They actually made this happen. And we were so blessed that it was our community-based board that really supported this work and encouraged it. So for me, it was confronting to see the extraordinary amount of labor that so many people have to expend to change a bad law. And it's one reason why we've also, further to concerns that we've heard from this community, why we've also done a lot of work around reducing the barriers to citizenship. For example, by highlighting stories like of local families who were facing these barriers. And so now as a result of like again, using us as your tool, it's easier for kids to apply for citizenship without their parents, and getting an exemption from the citizenship fee, the application fee is now possible for people on social assistance. So you know, the whole 117.9D experience really was confronting to see the amount of labor that was involved. And really, I guess what I want to sort of say is that, you know, it's a lot easier than all that like labor to undo a bad law is actually voting for people who understand your lived experience and who won't create the bad laws in the first place. So I'd like to end by quoting from Mary Jane Mossman. She's you know, one of these legends in the legal world. She's a professor emerita at Osgoode Hall Law School, and she gave a wonderful talk, which is actually on our blog if you want to check it out, at our 40th anniversary. And among other things, she said this: access to justice is linked to democracy and our sense of having a stake in our communities, and that our views matter. If, as it seems, and she did say this 10 years ago, if, as it seems, economic inequality in Canada and Ontario is not only growing, but perhaps at an all-time high, we need to recommit to the goals of a renewed just society. And in my view, if LAO and its board of directors, Legal Aid Ontario, but really the province, if they want to be judged by history as having contributed, even in a small way, to these social, political, and legal aspirations, there is a need to recognize that community-based legal clinics are not just helpful tools to achieve such goals, they are fundamental. So thank you for coming. Let's have cake. Let's have raffle and cake.
0, last 3 digits, 730. Woo, congratulations. Come on down, 533. 533.
Another fix.
Yay! Rocking those tunes. Go back to work.
735. 735. 705, 705. Do you want to take the ticket? 702.
We haven't done the selfie yet, so no one move.
Regent Park, my name is Waleed Kogali Ali, and I'm so happy that you got to experience the 50th anniversary of Neighbourhood Legal Services. And I'm very proud to serve as the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of Neighbourhood Legal Services. And we had an amazing event today. We had a jam-packed day with an amazing race that concluded at Daniel Spectrum, where we had a free dinner for community members, gave away a lot of raffle prizes, and had important conversations about our collective victories. You might not know this, but Neighbourhood Legal Services worked with the Regent Park community to secure the right to return of many residents that lived in Regent Park during phases 1 to 3. And also, earlier this year in February, we had a big victory where we pushed back against greedy developers who wanted to change the definition of affordable housing from an income-based model to a market-based model. That was because of your support. So we have so many victories to celebrate, but we also have a lot of challenges ahead of us. So I want to encourage you to get involved, not just only with your neighborhood association, the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, but also support your neighborhood legal clinic, specifically Neighborhood Legal Services. And we're so happy to celebrate our 50th anniversary, so I hope you get involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.